week, live from America's Tornado Alley. It's the middle of the day here, and at this time of year, tornadoes can happen at any time from the late afternoon onwards. Later on, we'll find out what's in store for us here tonight. Last night, we reported tornado warnings to the north of here, and 9 twisters did in fact touch down with 2.5-inch hail in Nebraska. Today, we've come to KWTV, Channel 9 television here in Oklahoma City. But this is no ordinary TV station. In recent years, it's built its reputation in providing detailed tornado warnings. In fact, in that white dome behind me there is their very own weather radar. When a big tornado strikes, normal programs are suspended, and Chief Weatherman Gary England and his weather team take over the airwaves. May the 3rd was a frantic night for them as they tracked a killer tornado into the residential suburbs.
Update. What do you got, Val?
By early afternoon on May the 3rd, it's obvious something big is happening. At 2 o'clock, the station scrambles its helicopter and dispatches 10 teams of spotters to provide up-to-the-second coverage. The tornado touches down at 10 to 5, and within minutes, spotters are on air with live reports.
The funnel itself is growing at the ground level just a little bit. It keeps throwing up all kinds of debris through the air.
Yeah, car 21 in Chickasha confirms that tornado due west of Chickasha.
It's soon clear the tornado's growing even bigger.
Can Ranger 9 tell us what they have? Val, what do you have?
Oh, it's large, Gary. It's very large. It is definitely a wedge.
Oh, my God.
All right, I assure you, this thing is a monster.
5.
You folks, to path this, you should take your immediate tornado precautions. With this tornado, you need to be below ground level.
By 5:30, the tornado's traveling alongside the main freeway, heading for Oklahoma City.
I see somebody driving down Interstate 44 to the north.
Yeah, there is.
If you're driving, if you're driving anywhere between Chickasha and Oklahoma City on I-44, get off of that sucker now if you got to run through a fence.
Gary, you there?
Say again, Val.
Man, this thing is still just as large as it ever was.
That's exactly what it is.
By 6 o'clock, Gary knows the tornado is a killer.
It gets to 60. I see a large piece of debris flying through the air about 200 yards to our north.
I tell you, folks, I'd get the settler right now if you haven't already done it. Don't mess with this thing. Don't go outside and look at it because it'll kill you.
Oh, whoa.
Power flashes.
Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. Now, as you folks watch this thing now, as you watch this, keep in mind, hey, Merry Christmas. Many structures will not survive this tornado. You need to be below ground with this storm. This is a deadly tornado.
Look at that house.
Half an hour later, the tornado is ripping through the Oklahoma City suburbs.
Oh,
Man, we've got debris everywhere.
oh, man.
Everything is leveled out here.
As you look at this, I will tell you, that's the damage path across parts of Moore and southwest Oklahoma City.
The devastation is appalling, and 45 people in Oklahoma lose their lives. But the death toll could have been much higher had people not received the warnings.
And you can see the long track, about 80-mile track of this death and destruction with this storm.
Throughout the disaster, Gary's team were on air non-stop for 30 hours. Such dedication has earned Gary universal respect.
In my childhood, it was watch Gary England. You know, got to turn Gary on.
He's very important. If he hadn't been on there, there would have been a lot of people killed, really.
He saved our lives. I don't have enough thank yous for him. And I don't know what we'd do without him in Oklahoma.
For those who can't get to safety underground, he's got a special piece of advice for which he's become famous.
Once again, for you children, you children at home listening to me, if you're there by yourself, get some pillows and blankets, a lot of them, and you go into the bathroom and you get in the bathtub and cover up.
Well, I'm now inside Channel 9's Weather Centre studio, and with me is Gary England. Gary, everybody in these parts clearly relies on your warnings and advice, but tell us first about the bathtub. Why that?
Well, let's say you're going to be in a tornado, and you're in the house. And let's say this pin is coming through the air at 125, 150 miles an hour. It would be good to have something between you and this.
Certainly
so the
would.
side of the bathtub helps. Now, of course, in Moore, Oklahoma, one person took shelter in a bathtub and a car landed. So on the person, but you can't, the bathtub is reasonably safe in most tornadoes.
But it's better than nothing. We saw just there, obviously, inside the TV studio on the night, but what did it actually feel like to be here?
Well, it was electrifying. It was terrifying. It was organized chaos. It was loud. It was unbelievable.
You've been in this business, what,
27 years.
27 years.
Yeah.
Did you ever think you would find yourself in this situation? Did you ever think you'd see anything like this?
Well, I always knew there'd be an F-5 move through Oklahoma City, but when it was happening, and I'm looking at the video, the live video, and I'm looking at the radar, and I remember thinking, it's happening, and I can't believe it. I mean, it was surreal. It was incredible.
And how about family and friends? I mean, did that go through your mind? I mean, you live here. How about your wife, people you know?
Well, my wife had already called me and told me she was safe, and so there wasn't time to think about anyone else, but you know, what was going on here. We had the engineer in the field. He was setting up video. He was a mile from his home. And the tornado, he was also a mile from the tornado. The tornado was going through his home where his wife and daughter were.
And he saw that happening?
He saw it happening, but they were in the bathtub and they survived.
Fantastic. Well, that's good news. But of course, you do have a lot of people, not just engineers, but the spotters and trackers out on the field as well, don't you? I mean, it must be incredibly dangerous for them, sending in reports back to you.
We have an army of people out there, and sometimes they get a little bit close. Unfortunately, we can't play on the air what they say all the time.
I'm not surprised.
We have some great audio, man. It's incredible stuff, but I'll show you later.
Very, very frightening. Yes, thank you very much, Gary. I'd be interested to see that. But does anybody know why a storm will turn into one storm might turn into a tornado and another one doesn't?
As much as we know, and you basically have covered it, we don't know why this circulating thunderstorm produces a tornado and this one doesn't. We just don't know, and there's so much more research to be done. Someday we'll figure it out, but it's not now.
Okay, Gary, for the moment, thanks
Okay.
very much. Thank you. Well, obviously you've got lots of technical weather equipment here. We'll go through that a bit later on. But first, let's catch up with our storm chasers. Now, if you were watching yesterday's program, you'll have seen some of the chasers we've been following as they pursued a tornado across Kansas. Well, Nick Baker is with them.
What's going on? It's about 6 o'clock in the morning. This is the only thing that gets everyone up before 11:30. After a couple of days without a cloud, it looks like we finally got ourselves a couple of storms. They snuck up on us in the night.
Non-stop thunder and lightning has got us all excited and is getting dangerously close.
You don't get storms like this in the UK.
A lot of CGs off in the distance. Really? That will be coming this way, yeah.
I think I'm going to wait till we get more CGs or anything. CG, in case you're wondering, is cloud-to-ground lightning. Pick that one up, at least.
Soon the lightning is directly overhead and the building opposite is about to be struck. The strike knocks out the lights, but luckily no one is hurt. Later in the day, we cross the border into New Mexico. Storms are forming in our target area, but as we close in on the storm, we hit a problem. New Mexico is mostly desert and the road system is poor. We just can't get close enough.
These storms are doing something right now. We're trying to get closer, about 20 miles closer. We have a problem with the roads though. The only road that's a decent surface is the one we're on. It's not going in the right direction.
Despite the road taking us in the wrong direction, Charles doesn't give up and soon we're right on the tail of the storm.
Rotate, rotate.
If the loose cloud hanging down would just start to rotate, we could get a tornado. We stop to watch. I ask our leader if he thinks our waiting might be rewarded with a tornado.
Not quite yet. It still has potential to do something.
But I'm not sure if we're in the best location.
That big one over there, that's where we came from. Yeah. Should we have stayed there, do you think? Possibly, yeah. But right now it's not a supercell.
It's not long before Charles is proved right. There are dramatic changes overhead.
We got circulation right up above you.
We're looking right up at what could be the beginnings of a tornado, but we'd come all this way and are about to be frustrated. Other storm chasers have heard the same warning we have. Extremely large hail is on the way, and we know how damaging it could be, so we have to escape fast.
Let's get out of here before this stuff gets hard.
As we take off, the threatening storm produces a beautiful rainbow, but I'm soon distracted by the hail.
Here we go.
This looks like we're going to lose the windscreen. We've got big hail and lots of it. Each one of those explosions you can see on the tarmac is a single hailstone.
and it's looking rough. It's looking great. It's not sounding too good, and it feels kind of rough too.
We drive for miles but can't escape the threat of the storm. Eventually, as it gets dark, we're forced to take shelter.
We've been chasing the storm all day. It's got dark on us. It hasn't produced a tornado, but it is threatening 3-inch hailstones. I can hear some beginning to hit down here. Only small ones at the moment, but we've taken shelter in this disused garage, and hopefully this thing will pass without doing us too much damage. Yeah, this is quite bizarre. We've had cars driving past, honking their horns, warning us there's stuff coming. Every car has stuffed its front end into as much shelter as possible to protect the windscreens. But as you can hear, we're right in the middle of it at the moment. There's thunder going, there's lightning going, and there's a big hailstone, and it's getting bigger.
Well, Nick Baker under fire there from hail, Texas style. Gary, has storm chasing ever got you? Do you do it in your spare time?
You got to be kidding.
Do you think chasers are crazy then?
I think every chaser has a little part of their brain missing somewhere. They're wonderful people, but they're just a little bit crazy. They really are.
You know some of these crazy people, don't you?
A lot of them work for me. There's one by the name of Val Castor. This guy can drive backwards at 40 miles an hour, shoot video, and talk on the phone at the same time. He's incredible. He drives with his knees. It's he's unbelievable.
Mad. No, I think I'm on your side there, Gary. Stay at home or stay in the studio. Now take us through some of this equipment that you use to predict tornadoes.
Well, this is a part of the Doppler radar system, and right now this particular part of the Doppler shows rainfall amounts. How much rain is coming down?
So what looks like trees, these look like fir trees, that's actually lumps of rain.
I have never heard that before. Fir trees?
Fir trees, you must have them somewhere.
Well, yeah, but not on a radar. Yeah, true. They do look like fir trees. That shows how much rain is coming down per hour.
Okay. That's
sometimes it'll show hail.
Into Oklahoma. Yeah. This one here, what's this?
This is real-time lightning. And at the moment it's coming down at 35 ground strikes per minute, and that helps us identify, what storms are severe and which ones are not, because most of it's moving on off to the northeast. And that lightning's in association with those storms we just looked at on the other radar.
It's leaving Oklahoma as opposed to coming in.
Which is not all bad.
No, okay.
As far as I'm concerned.
How about this one over here?
Okay, this is May 3rd. This Doppler velocity. And
this was the night of the big tornado.
Right, the night of the big tornado. And here's what we call a mesocyclone. And Doppler velocities.
What is Doppler velocity?
Well, Doppler velocities show you the direction the raindrops are moving, and how fast they're moving. So it becomes pattern recognition. Right in here, this is moving from right to left, and this is moving from left to right. So
those colors are significant, are they?
Look right up here. You have a yellow, and you have a magenta, and that says there's winds going in opposite directions, very fast, very close to each other, and that's happening right in here. So, if you have something like that happening, winds going opposite directions real fast, there's something terrible going on in the middle.
That's the sort of climate to create a tornado,
is what's called a mesocyclone.
And do you have to wait to see those two colors on that screen before you send your teams out?
No, we send our teams out sometimes 4 hours ahead, because you identify the area you think it's going to happen, you get the teams out there in position, so when it starts, they're there.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Gary. We'll be back in a few minutes' time. Now, we Brits may have a reputation for being obsessed with the weather and indeed talking about nothing else, but weather forecasts out here are something else. They do matter on a major scale. But because tornadoes are so unpredictable, even the best warnings can't always prevent disaster and tragedy. In the small town of Jarrell, Texas, one woman and her family heard a warning but didn't have time to get away. That tornado was about to turn into an F5, the biggest of them all.
I've always heard that if you don't see a tornado moving, that it's coming towards you. So I knew it was definitely coming in our direction. And so I went inside and told my husband, it's here. So my daughter, she was pretty scared already. She had already gotten into the bathtub. We took cushions from our couch and put those over our head. My daughter got in first, and then I got in, and my husband was on the bathroom floor because there wasn't room for all three of us to get into the bathtub. I could hear things start to hit the house, tinkling sounds. It sounded like the roof was tearing off, things were tearing apart. And that's the last thing that I can remember until I woke up in the hospital. I ended up in this peach tree right here, And it used to be a big, tall, huge tree. My husband planted it, and it didn't do very well at first. I think this tree is what saved us, saved me and my daughter, because I was in the tree and she was on the ground near it. I think as the wind blew us past this tree, it caught us and held us here. And if that tree would have died, I think we would have been blown on where my husband was taken. He was taken 3 houses down the road, and he was killed.
Well, most tornadoes move in a northeasterly direction, but that one did the opposite with tragic consequences. Gary, do tornadoes often move unexpectedly like that?
Yes, the one on May 3rd, in fact, most of the big ones, when they become tornadic, they'll turn to the right. And on May 3rd, we expected all day long for that one to turn right, and never did. It turned left.
Why do they do that?
I don't think anybody knows for sure, because they move. What they do, they create an environment all of their own, a whole weather system all of their own, and they move in response not only to winds but also to pressure differences that they create. But I think this one really caught everyone by surprise by turning left.
It is amazing, isn't it, that we think we know so much about the weather. We think our weather forecasts are so sophisticated, and yet tornadoes are still a mystery.
They're pretty much a mystery. By the time we think we really know something about it, it embarrasses us.
Okay, thanks, Gary. Well, although it's potentially deadly, scientists and storm trackers need to get close to tornadoes. If you were watching yesterday's program, you may remember we saw experienced tornado chaser Tim Samaras as he deployed a new type of detector in the path of a big twister. Each year, Tim spends months on the road tracking tornadoes throughout the Midwest. Shilpa Mehta joined him recently for the chase.
Tim is one of America's foremost chasers, and I wanted to find out why he's so successful. But first, to reach him, I had to drive for 6 hours across 3 states. He was already chasing a storm in Kansas. When I eventually did catch up with him, it was straight down to business.
We are here.
Right.
So what we got to do is we got to go east and catch up with the southerly winds. The dry line has actually started to work itself faster east than I thought. We're going to have to go east.
Tim's approach to storm chasing is about as high-tech as you can get.
How did you get involved in all of this? I mean, you're in quite deep, as I can see.
Oh, yeah. When I was a kid, the movie Wizard of Oz, I think, inspired me a little bit. Obviously, my best part of it was the tornado. I could care less about the rest of the movie, but I wanted to make sure I watched the tornado. I don't know what lures me to it. I suppose just the dark and mysterious and the unknown.
At that moment, what was also unknown was where the storm was. Low cloud cover didn't bode well.
We need to be out a little further south and out of the muck for the sun to start heating and cause start to create the convection process.
To find the right weather conditions, we had to head for Texas. It made sense for me to pick up my car and get some fuel.
Tim reckons the chase is on after here, so we've got to get properly prepared. That means a full tank of petrol.
After driving for 7 hours, we finally found the storm, but worsening conditions worried me. We could have been approaching a tornado from the wrong direction, in other words, with it heading straight towards us through the rain. It's called punching the core, and it's very dangerous.
Tim, I can see quite a few lightning flashes happening all around us.
Yeah, they're happening just right in front of this core here, dead ahead of us.
And we are driving into the core?
Technically, yes. However, this thunderstorm is still a bit young, so all we can expect right now is just a shot of rain. And once we get on the other side, we'll be fine. I wouldn't do this if it was a full-fledged supercell or a very mature storm.
So we are punching the core, but it's not much of a core to punch.
There was no chance of us finding a tornado through rain like this. We just had to get out the other side, where Tim would be able to see what was going on.
A lot of energy there. You got a storm off to the south. What happens is the storm to the south robs the energy of the storm to the north. And unfortunately, this is the storm to the north.
So the big question is, how far must we drive to catch the storm of the south without going clear into Mexico?
Tim's got almost every electronic device you could think of to help him answer just that sort of question.
When it pointed immediately a couple of tornado warnings.
The satellite dish gives him access to the Weather Channel so he can see what's going on across the country. Scanner radio and a GPS navigation system help him find his way to exactly where the storms are.
Everything kind of
On top of this, he's got a lightning detector and a device which tells him the humidity or dew point, so he can detect how imminent a storm might be.
On top of all the happenings here at the Weather Channel.
The storm is coming up on us, and this is part of the outflow. And outflow means the wind coming from the storm to us. So this storm is not a tornado producer.
No matter how many electronic aids you have, there's no way of finding a tornado if there isn't one to be found. It was the end of the first day. Next morning, things looked a lot more promising.
Well, it's all getting really exciting. Tim says there's a tornado box that's gone up.
In northern California. Chance on Thursday for some scattered showers and thunderstorms over the upper Mississippi Valley, and a chance for some much-needed rain.
For people around here, the weather is so important. You're filled in whilst you're filling up.
Weather through much of the interior west, with high temperatures on Monday.
From here on in, chase is on. It feels like we're driving right into the storm. The trees are really blowing around, so it's getting windier.
Tornado warning has just been issued. There's a swirl of dust. We've got to get east. This thing is going to produce a tornado any minute.
Thing's rotating.
What?
See it? See the backside coming this way, and the top side's coming this way?
Yeah.
It's doing this. Mesocyclone core is starting to form right here. The whole storm is rotating like this. It's becoming a mesocyclone. If things come together just right, it's going to produce a tornado. Oh, it's beautiful.
It's just the most majestic movement.
Yeah, and you can understand why I enjoy this. This is just beautiful. The southerly wind is really the strong component here for the inflow on this thing.
Yeah.
Oh man, we got to get south.
Okay.
We got to get south.
Okay.
As we headed south, we spotted a tornado already on the ground.
Can you see it?
Tim films every tornado he sees. Not only is it a valuable record of storms which only last a few minutes, but selling the footage to TV companies helps fund chasing.
Today's date, 5/16/99. We just had a brief touchdown of a tornado. In fact, this looks like it's still trying to form. National Weather Service has just issued a tornado warning for this cell. We're right here. Oh, this is beautiful. God, this is absolutely beautiful.
It's gonna touch.
The top dissipated, the base is really rotating.
I'd never seen anything like it in my life. It was amazing. Then I saw Tim start to look around. For the first time, it dawned on me that these things can kill.
The wind just started to change direction. Okay, it's time to go. We gotta go. We gotta go now.
We had to go because Tim had realized that as the wind had changed direction, the tornado was heading straight for us. We just made it.
This storm may form up a new one here. That's why we get a little east. And the old updraft may put down another one, but it's going to form up a new core here soon. That's why I want to continue east.
The area was already on alert.
Well, that's a tornado warning going off in this town. Those people must be heading for a shelter. It's really loud. Uh-oh, there's an ambulance. This is getting scary again.
As Tim led us towards another storm, I was afraid we were going to punch the core again, with all the risks from large hailstones, a tornado coming straight at us, and even the possibility of being struck by lightning.
Tim's just got out of his car to look at the updraft. He's told us to stay in the car because it's very dangerous out there now. The lightning's all over.
Okay, it looks like that core is just to our southwest. And I think we just hang on and wait.
Soon, almost directly above us, you could see the cloud base rotating. We waited, but it didn't develop.
It's regenerating itself. There's also a new rain-free base off to the southwest we're going to have to keep an eye on. We'll have a look at this.
But the weather was set to surprise us still. As we headed to the new location, we suddenly found what we'd been looking for.
We've seen the classic tornado! There it is.
It had been a long 2 days. I'd driven over 1,500 miles across 3 states, but the chase had definitely been worth it.
Amazing, but also a frightening experience, I'd imagine. Now, would you believe it, but a tornado has been spotted in Scotland. It was spotted an hour ago near Wick by an RAF tornado pilot. That is true, a tornado spotted by a tornado pilot, and indeed at home, when all the tornadoes are supposed to be happening today. Apparently there was no damage, by the way. It was small. But no tornadoes here.
Well, you know, might have an isolated one today, maybe one tomorrow. You can never be sure.
And I suppose we are at the peak of the tornado season, aren't we? You can never
Well,
really
we're
tell.
pretty close to the peak, maybe past it just a little bit, but all you need is the proper conditions and you can have them. And it's difficult to be accurate. You know, my mama is the only one that thinks I'm accurate. All the time.
Oh, I don't know. You've got a lot of people who follow what you say, Gary. Tell us about the forecast today.
Well, we have a slight risk of severe thunderstorms in parts of Kansas and Oklahoma. Maybe we're into Missouri and Arkansas. And mainly strong damaging winds are possible, some large hail. And you always have to cover yourself. You say, and maybe an isolated tornado, because these storms go up, and some of them will start spinning and some won't.
The weather changes incredibly quickly here as well, doesn't it?
1 minute it is just absolutely wonderful, and the next minute it's ripping the shirt right off your back.
So no obvious tornadoes predicted today. Tomorrow?
Tomorrow there's a little stronger storm system coming in from the northwest. It looks a little bit better. Be a better chance of tornadoes tomorrow.
Okay. Well, obviously we'll find out in Wednesday's programme how all of that develops. And Gary, thank you very much indeed for talking to us today and taking us around your weather studio. Keep up the good work. Now, our next programme is on Wednesday evening, same time, 7 o'clock on BBC One, when, of course, we'll be bringing you the latest tornado update. And I'll be talking to a mother and daughter who built themselves the ultimate tornado-proof building that can withstand even this. See you then.
Family battle to survive a series of tornadoes later tonight here on BBC One. Gripping film drama in Night of the Twisters at 11:10.